Good evening, all. Hope you're well. Can you tell that I was frantically trying to wolf down some food just before I was finishing my last mouthful? So yeah, my bad. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't seem to have sorted my evening out like at all. But good to see you all. Good to see the Wooter Base Truther, to Chief Paranoid Officer, to Ray Louderbeck, Blamsmith, Hustlebones, Viper Leo, and everyone else. Welcome in. Hope you're having a good Sunday. We're going to talk some more Star Citizen. There was a very interesting 2 hour, although we're not going to take that long talking about it, a 2 hour video between Jared and Benoit Beausejour talking about where the technical state of Star Citizen is at the moment and what we can expect kind of from the next, I guess, 11 months. And we will be talking about that throughout the course of today and a couple of the bits. And we will answer Hustlebones' question as to what is closer than we all think. Yeah, there we go. So, before we get any further at all, happy Sunday. Good to see you all. Thank you very much for coming in. And yeah, cheers. So it's Stowford Press for me today, which is a really nice cider from Weston's. If anyone from Weston's happens to be watching, yes, I would like a sponsorship. That would be wonderful. But I doubt that's happening right at the minute. So yeah, that's where we are. So Star Citizen Live then this week came out with a whole bunch of stuff. And it was the kind of tech talk. So Benoit Beausejour, for those that don't know, is the CTO, Chief Technical Officer of Star Citizen. He has his fingers in all of the pies in terms of the back end tech, all that sort of stuff with dealing with, the dealing with everything from server meshing to the teams that are currently working on all the fixing and kind of dealing with all the issues that they have at the moment, the year of stability, all that sort of good stuff. They are dealing with it all over there. So they talked about an awful lot of stuff. If you haven't seen it, we can link it a little later on in the chat. But yeah, some really interesting stuff in there, including, and I'll just lead off the bat with it all. No wipes during alpha. It looks like they won't be doing any more wipes during alpha. What they said they will do is they'll be taking targeted actions, and they spoke a lot of time talking about things like exploits and duping and that sort of stuff. So it very much looks like they're going to target down kind of the people that are, or the issues around that sort of stuff. They talked about this is right, like, quite a good place to start, right? Because I feel like right at this point, this is probably something that a lot of people are concerned about. And I see that comment from Wooter saying, "I'm disappointed they probably won't do a wipe, but I understand it's to fix more exploits and hopefully ban some." So, hey Luna, good to see you. Notorious, good to see you, my friend, and anyone else who I've missed who's kind of loitering and all that sort of stuff. So, they are aware of the exploits. What they've said is that those exploits stay up a lot longer because there will be maybe one or two obvious causes for those exploits, and they'll find those very, very quickly. What they want to do is then track the activity and see if there are less obvious causes for those exploits occurring. And effectively, what it does is it stops those other, kind of more secretive causes from hiding for months, maybe years, and try and track it all down, which is, I guess, good news. I suppose that's the way the game development cookie crumbles, as it were. So they've talked about that. What they've also talked about during that is it also allows them to track the individuals involved. So those individuals who are doing huge amounts of duping, I would imagine, they know who a lot of them are. It also seems like they seem to be able to track where these objects are coming from. So, I can't imagine them being massively upset at people who are duping the odd Cruise Lux bottle. But in terms of components and larger stuff, and they mentioned as well being able to get rewards that they weren't entitled to not a duping thing per se, but still an exploit and still accrediting stuff to people's account and people's gameplay that they really shouldn't have. They've also said they're going to be able to track that. So at the very least, it looks like some of this stuff might be disappearing. And in the most egregious cases, I don't think it's unfair for us to hope that these people are going to get basically, some sort of suspension, ban, some sort of penalty that indicates that this isn't the game that they want to build. When logistics and getting hold of stuff in a space game is so core to it, this stuff, it just kind of invalidates much of what they're trying to do with the game. And so rightfully so, they're going to be very upset about it. So, yeah. Chief Paranoid Officer says, I think it's because they're getting ready to be a game more than an alpha. No wipes means progress that you can keep, and let's face it, persistence needs as much testing as other stuff. Yeah, so interestingly, one of the things they didn't talk about, or at least I didn't hear them say, was beta into beta or beta into release. So I would imagine we are getting stuff taken off us at some point, because there are people out there who have so much money, even through legitimate reasons, people who are on hundreds of millions of credits because they just do the big earning missions over and over again. I really can't see. It's impossible to balance for those people, and then the people that are coming in kind of now or aren't playing regularly. It's impossible to balance the two, right? If you're going to make things expensive enough that those with hundreds of millions of credits are going to find things a stretch, then everyone else is kind of screwed, right? So there's that. Hustlebone says, I don't know how I feel about that. I say just drop the ban hammer and make it public to let people know, FAFO. They may well do that in the most egregious instances. I don't think they're kind of there yet. I think for a lot of these people, you'll probably find that the people are doing it are serial, right? They go and find these things as they go through. So knowing who they are and keeping a tab on them is a really good way of finding all the exploits, right? Yes, of course, you'll find one or two people will find these things by mistake and they'll keep doing it and that sort of stuff, right? But there is a hardcore in a lot of games of people who try to find the exploits, who try to find ways to cheat the system, who try to find ways to get an unfair advantage, competitive or otherwise, over other people. And keeping an eye on them and seeing what they do and what they break is probably quite advantageous for CIG at this point. I would imagine they'd be kind of mean and then just get to release and either zero their account out or ban them just before the game goes, properly in the direction of what they wanted to do, and they're well within their rights to do so. So yeah. UEC is also a problem with the in-game market, and those who use eBay for in-game money for real money also real bad. Yeah, 100%. What we've seen before is it's really hard to track that sort of stuff. There are some games that try to stop that. For example, if you take the modders aside, Grand Theft Auto, there is no way to transfer money around from player to player, right? The Grand Theft Auto Online stuff. So that's one way they've tried to do it. Then people got modding tools, came in and just gave people loads of cash anyway. So there's that. But in-game currency isn't a massive trade in that game, other than through, Rockstar's own software. So there's that. We've obviously got the money trader or the credit trader already in Star Citizen, so it's clear that they want us to do that. How do you combat gold traders when that's or credit traders when that's a thing? Don't know. I don't know how they do that. One of the ways you could approach this, and I'm not saying this is a good option, is to enable people to buy it direct from, kind of CIG, and then you do so at a much reduced price than the other companies allow, and therefore price everyone else out of the market, so you can only do it from CIG, and then maybe CIG control it. But I don't think that's going to be an option because, again, they devalue the currency. Loads of people buy it. You once again have massively inflated accounts. I don't think that's a good choice either. Yeah. I would have loved at least a money wipe. Well, I think that's what they mean by Wooter. They mean by the targeted actions, right? Rather than a wipe being what we know to be, which is a lot of stuff goes, your in-game ships go and all that sort of stuff. We had the kind of rep persisting between right. Yeah, literally, I've had that much of that can and I can't speak. What is going on? They've had things like rep persist between wipes, and credits have happened now as well. But a lot of it they were talking about can't persist at the moment. Things like ships that you bought in game because the back end's not set up for that, and they're working on it, and that's going to be coming at some point in the near future, soon. TM, I guess. But yes, that sort of stuff at the moment is coming. But I think this is what they mean by targeted, and of course. They've always said, that they don't want to wipe stuff from people. But I think if it's getting to the point where they affect the game, they will. They've always said for ever, they reserve the right to have a better idea. And if the better idea is we actually need to wipe because things have gotten out of hand, I have no doubt they'll do it. Hello to, I just saw you come in there, Wiggy One. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Welcome in. Yeah. So there we go. There's people who go from game to game just to exploit. Exactly that. I hope they have a planet-side auction house when we get crafting in. Yeah, the ability for players to trade between each other securely, so it goes through a clearinghouse, is really important. And how detailed that is obviously up to them. But let's say, for example, it would be really cool if they're introducing something like cartography, which is the ability to sell maps. And we saw that a little while ago when they showed off the brand new star map. They also showed up a map terminal where you could go and get like locations, popular locations in the area. It's like going to the tourist board, right? They showed that off. And then there was like and then you've got all the locations that people will have found by operating that system a lot. So being very familiar with the system. And that makes sense, right? You go to a place on holiday and you get all the tourist spots, but then the locals tell you about this great off the path sort of location to go and see, and it's not in the tourist guides, and they do that for good reason to stop the tourists going there. So that's kind of what I think Star Citizen will start pushing towards. I hope Star Citizen will start pushing towards. That would be quite good to see. I've seen a lot of people saying stuff like it's a good thing to use exploits because it's alpha, so CIG need to explain it. It's good to find exploits and report exploits, but not use them. Yeah, 100%. I think CIG have basically just gone, hey, there's going to be exploiters. They're going to do what the internet does, right? People are going to exploit and people are going to use it and not report it. So CIG are going to be like, great, well then we'll track these people and not tell them that we've seen them, and we'll continue to farm off their accounts, all the exploits that they find, and we'll create fixes for them. And then when they no longer serve a purpose for us, we'll remove their account. And that's fine too, right? It happens both ways, and I'm fully supportive. Now, am I saying that the people who figured out how to dupe, for instance, Cruise Lux, do these people need banning? Absolutely not, right? But the people that are figuring out the larger exploits, they're exploiting things in game that are hard to get. That sort of stuff, no. So there we go. Marcus says, considering there was a backer who got in 2020 a temp banned till 2031 and consequently deleted his account, it isn't that CIG is shy of doing it if needed. Yeah, well, I mean, and again, this is depending on what depending on what hardcore and depending on what criteria CIG are using, right? There's the people that are egregious at it, but it's not affecting other people's gameplay as much, and then you get the people who are publicly very egregious, the kind of trolling and the being generally offensive and just being an all-round shithead. That sort of stuff's going to get them banned, right? But there we go. This is Chaos. Welcome in, buddy. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're well. And good to see everyone else that's around. I was today years old when I found out that there was a little pop-out dashboard for YouTube when you're live streaming, which is really cool. It just tells you how many people you've got in and how many people are viewing. And that's just tidied up my dashboard completely. So that's really exciting. But there we go. Brian Havoc, welcome in, buddy. Yeah, it's good to see. I say any dupe equals ban. I mean, the thing is, it depends how easy it is to do, right? So one of the things that I go back to original Diablo. So what you would do in original Diablo is you would buy as many cheap potions as you could, and then what would happen is you drop whatever you wanted to dupe on the ground, and as you went to pick it up, you'd then, at the same time, and you'd have to time it right, you would pick up the potion out of your inventory. And if you got it right, you would pick up the item, but the potion would also become the item that you've just duped. So you were basically, I guess, transmogging or, transmuting an item from a basic 50 gold coin potion into whatever it is that you just picked up. And then obviously you can then go, even with one potion, you then get an item that sells for 2,000 gold. You've now got 2,000 gold to spend on 50 gold coin potions that will allow you to dupe again and again and again. And that's how you did it. Now, there is absolutely a chain of thought that says you could find that out without meaning to. Right? So does that constitute a ban because you clicked on the wrong thing at the wrong time, not meaning to, and you did it once? So I don't know if it constitutes a ban for everyone, but yeah, there we go. All good. Work and life in the way. Keep missing the stream. No worries, bud. Oh, mate, you know what? Hey, real life gets in the way for all of us. Real life is why I haven't been posting videos that much recently. Real life is about to slap me in the face again. In the best possible way. It's a good thing, and we'll talk about it more later when I know for sure it's happening. But if we are on this track, and this is where it goes, there's something really good that's going to happen, but it is going to be quite disruptive for a month or two. So, yeah, stuff happening, things happening. As long as you're all right, mate, then it's all good. I want duped a pair of size 3 Ardor repeaters. Blamsmith, you monster! Get him, CRG, get him. If all dupes been banned, 99% would have ever banned by now in game. Yeah, I don't think I don't think I've knowingly ever duped anything, and I don't remember doing it. I might have done, but genuinely, I wouldn't be able to tell you. You could put a gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you how to dupe stuff in Star Citizen. And that is not an invite for anyone to say. Please don't put that sort of thing in chat. We're not here to encourage that sort of stuff. So there we go. Right, and you're showing the cultural kind of mentality issue I'm talking about. If CRG just showed up, this isn't okay, then no excuses. I don't know where it works. There's no game or life who thinks duping is intended game design, so you know you're exploiting. Yes, the question is how do you discover that it's duping? So if you're able to dupe it just in the course of normal gameplay, then a ban is that, right? So yeah. You're getting recalled back to the mob now. The age has gone up. No, absolutely not. No, that wouldn't go in the win column for me. Not so much. I got out once, and mate, can you imagine me trying to fit through a kidney hatch? Holy shit! You need some butter and a good push. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's not going to happen. Diablo 1 was season. So yeah, I mean Diablo 1 you could play multiplayer, but it wasn't core of it, right? So yeah, I mean, I just think if items and that aren't kind of core to the gameplay, then who the hell cares, right? If you can craft one of these top, level 5 top items and then dupe it, you're undermining everything that the game's trying to achieve. And I'm sorry, that's it. Right? If that's what you're doing and you're doing it repeatedly, and then you're trading off the back of it, right? If people do that and then they punt the items into space because they realise they've done it wrong and do nothing with it, all right, you figured it out, you've gotten rid of it, fine. If they're storing it, if they're taking it on and selling it, if they're repeatedly doing it, then yeah, now we're into the realms of. But we're not there yet. We are not yet. And actually, there's two sides to this. It's also on CIG to build systems that don't allow for duping. Just saying, right? So there's that. That's why I hope crafting fixes the duping part by making the item IDs harder to copy with maybe player name IDs added to the item. Very possibly. Very possibly. Sorry, I'm just gonna. Is that Lillian? I'm really sorry if I've not got that name right. Is it Ilian? Lillian? I'm sorry. I'm functionally blind. So, crafting top level items should be hard, and the blueprints for the best things should be a lot of work, endgame work. Exactly that. Can you imagine being able to dupe like the endgame blueprints? It upsets Lillian. In that case, good to see you, Lillian. Sorry, I hope I didn't offend. Butchering your name, my friend. It doesn't matter what the item is, though. It's the mentality behind the duping. That's what I'm saying. Yes. So if you are, I think we all agree, right? If people are intentionally duping and they're doing it, especially when it's sustained and that, I get it. If someone's in the middle of butt F nowhere and they dupe an Oxypen, am I really that bothered about it? I mean, I guess I am. I guess that's the whole point of the game, right? That you're out in the middle of nowhere, that you are, the whole point of space is that it's dangerous. Yeah. I just think at this point we are so far past that. And I kind of hope that we don't have to have this conversation much closer to 1.0 because they've nailed the duping thing and they've stopped it from happening. I mean, there were loads of places. Duping, for example, back when the work orders happened, when the work orders first went in the refinery, if you rapidly clicked confirm work order, if you really clicked it fast, you get 3 or 4 work orders, sometimes even more if there was a bit of a delay on the server, right? I might have done that once or twice, knowing full well that it's going to get wiped. But yeah, do I dupe anything now? No. Am I interested in finding out how to dupe stuff? No, because it's going to spoil the game. At the time, it was more a case of I did it once because someone told me that could work, did it once to prove that it did, and then I did it a bunch more times while streaming it to show it to other people and go like, look, no, this is fucked up, this shouldn't be happening. And that's a simple fix. You click confirm work order once, and if it queues up a bunch of work orders, you just go, okay, only one is valid for this work order. That's a nice way to fix it. But yeah. If duping can happen, players can do it and report the bug now rather than later. Yeah, and look, I mean, I'm pretty much, I think I'm pretty much at the point now where I don't really have anything more on it, right? If duping is incredibly hard and there's an incredibly kind of convoluted way to get there, and it can't be confused with any other gameplay mechanic, then yeah, I mean, bans, that's it. What I don't want to have happen is people getting banned because of accidental crap. Example being, whether it's single player, multiplayer, or what, that Diablo, the method for duping for the original Diablo game, was so easy you could have done it by accident, right? You could have dropped something, you could be picking something else up, you could be making room for it with a potion, all of a sudden you end up with 2 of the same thing. Like, that's just poor game design. And if Diablo want to, if Blizzard back at that point wanted to stop people doing it, you've got to fix the problem. Because you can't say to people, there's an accidental way that you can do this, but we're just going to ban you regardless, right? But yeah, exactly that hustle. And for the moment, they're going to continue on and they're just going to hammer people who do it. But yeah, later on, further on down the line, especially when it gets to stuff like, big tier rewards, when you're top level rep with a faction that people are grinding out and, it's really hard to get there for the top level blueprints, those people reach through the screen and, break their keyboard for them, as far as I'm concerned. Lillian says, duping should still not be needed in a single player game. Better to have a button story mode so you can skip the boss, etc. if you don't want to play it on hard mode. Yeah, I mean, I mean, the best thing to do is not do the is just not have a system, or fix it whenever it comes along. The fact that I was doing that in Diablo on a single player after Diablo 3 was released, they're clearly not interested in fixing it. Maybe they thought that's what pulled people back. Monster AV, welcome in, mate. Good to see you. Blood Games, didn't see you in before, but oh, sorry. Oh my god, I cannot read. Abood Games, I think that is. I do apologise. Welcome in. AV, welcome in. Good to see you. The things I'd see wanting to dupe, yeah, I mean, so I'm going to kind of move on from the duping thing now, because I feel like we've done this to death, right? And we're all saying the same thing. Duping shouldn't happen. The only thing we're disagreeing on is how hard we are on the people that do it. So that's what it. I feel a bit hopeless when it comes to SC sometimes. They seem to be far behind Squadron 42 when it comes to development. I just hope the next 2 years we get closer to a 1.0 release. But for now, the game development goes way too slow. So I would challenge that a little. And I think this very much depends on where you are. I've said this a lot. Look at where we were at the beginning of last year to look at where we are now. We've had a lot of gameplay loops added, a lot of ships have been added. There's so much more to do now in the verse than there was before. The unfortunate side of this, and this is what I mean about depending on what you enjoy, if everything you want to do revolves around your ship, then you're struggling a little, right? You just end up flying cover like at the logistics stations where the Vandal ships come and attack you. You fly cover and you fight the Vandal, which is you know abstractly that you're fighting the Vandal, but it's still just a bunch of ships that you're fighting, right? So yeah, for that sort of stuff, I get it. But also the other thing that I quite like here is that if you look at what they've put into that tech progress stuff, I think they're a lot further on. And what was really nice to hear them say was they talked about things like VR, for example. They talked about everything you're kind of frustrated in there, mate, which is game development seems to be taking far too long. And they mentioned that Chris was very insistent on doing things the right way, not just the quick way. That is one of the key contributing factors as to why VR got plugged in. And you might be sat there going, don't like VR, it's not my thing. Understand that 100%, and I'm not saying that it should be. What I'm saying is, if they can take something like VR and it effectively becomes plug and play with all the work that they did to put it in, but, you know, it's much easier to put in and keep updated, is it, compared to when it first went in, then they're doing something right building these core systems. And it hopefully should allow us to see things like Genesis, Starkitect, all these systems that they're building, even Maelstrom to an extent. We should be seeing them in a different light, which is, yes, this stuff may take forever, but they are building them with the ability to, you know, kind of massively use that in the future as a building block. And a really good example of this is the resource network stuff, right? If you're building in resource networks into the game and you can put them in underground facilities, you can put them in distribution centers, you've just added an entire gameplay loop to the distribution center. So this idea that, you know, let's use the trailer that they used, you're going there to get some really high value materials out of there. Well, yeah, you've got the option to go and shoot your way in. Fine, you're going to probably have to do that anyway. But with regards to your evac dropship, whatever's coming in to help you get the loot out, if a few of your party go off and use the resource network to exploit the distribution center, i.e., they take the radar offline, so now the turrets can't track. So now your ship can come in and not get destroyed on the pad by all the turrets. Right? There's all these extra things that they can do. And if you build the resource network out as a core system that can be updated to anything, and they have mentioned specifically, repeatedly, I'm not just making this up, they've mentioned this a lot in the past about resource network is for underground facilities, site locations, ships as well, of course, it forms part of engineering. But by building it as a robust system where turrets need our radar to track, they can create locations where the radar might be accessible, right? You fight your way to the security room, you take the radar offline, you know, even if it's not a physicalized component you can remove, you take the radar offline, you damage it, you use breaching charges, whatever it is. It's a really nice system to build up, and it bodes so well for the future in terms of what we can achieve. So there we go. Luna, ban cheaters, no debate needed. Yeah, remind me never to annoy you. Ashra, welcome in. Wiggy1 says, I just got a Hermes. What do people think about it? We'll talk about it in a second because I've got one too. Look at where we were with 318, says Jabba. You're not wrong. There we go. Squadron 42 is a lot easier than SC. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Wuta was saying, right? Is that because the lion's share of development has been on Squadron 42 up until now, Star Citizen has suffered in its development, no doubt about that. But yeah. Brian Havoc says, I haven't had high hopes for the Hermes, but it surprised me. Really good ship. Hermes look nice, says Blamsmith. Yeah. So, Jabba, what we know about Squadron 42 is it's going to be run on rails. There won't be, this is the universe. Star Citizen is the open universe sandbox that goes with Squadron 42. Back in the day, what they'd intended, which was a really nice idea, was you could always have just bought into Squadron to Star Citizen straight away, but there was an option there for people to go to Squadron 42 and then basically complete the storyline and then muster out into the verse and carry a little bit of that military experience as like the part of their character. It's kind of like D&D, right? You choose the background to your character, and one of the backgrounds is military experience, and rather than just ticking the box for a couple of stats, you actually get to play that initial experience, and Squadron 42 was going to be that. Whether it's going to have that much impact on your character in Star Citizen, I don't think that's the case anymore. But it's kind of a cool thing. It was never going to be required. It was just an option. So yeah, Monster AV says, of the Hermes, I wish it had the cargo on elevators or the sides opened. It's better than some, but when you need gimmicks like a tractor on a rail to load it, it's not a great design. Yeah, I mean, I think... I'm a massive fan of the Hermes, I've got to say. I think the idea of a small entrance was obviously to stop it completely invalidating other designs. They have to have limitations on ships. And the idea that, you know, they were just going to let it load any vehicle that it wanted that could fit in the cargo hold, I think it's a little bit maybe a little bit naive, I think. And I quite like the way it loads. There are a couple of issues with it in that there are a couple of places you've got to be a little bit kind of quick to get it to attach the grid before you lose the tether. But, you know, again, I think that just fits to the drawback. I'm really enjoying my Hermes at the moment. Wouter says of the development, I agree, it's always tier 0 and there's almost no progress on existing gameplay places. Distribution centres aren't used at all currently. Well, again, I think you're right, tier 0 is a thing. But gameplay places, I mean, distribution centres are the one place they put in. There's some missions to do there, but that's it. But ASD Site Bravo, the Yormandi, the logistics centres that we have now, the Contested Zone, Stormbreaker, Hathor, like, there are huge amounts of locations. There's a lot of gameplay places that are added with gameplay. You know, we went back to a lot of the old places, the underground facilities, to do missions. They've added a lot of stuff in there. So I think that, you know, they're making progress, and that was the interesting thing to see about this, the tech progress that they talked about this week, was that they have made some ground. They did say specifically that they paused all the technological changes going into the builds to stop to make sure that the devs had a stable development platform, so the features weren't constantly changing, so they could go and build on what was already there. So I think we're probably about to see not a quantum leap, but you'll see some big progress of the stuff that they've been working on. Really good examples of that: the transport system, vice transit system, and mission system V2. I think they're going to have a significant positive impact on players once they've worked out the initial bugs. A-Tech, welcome in. That's one of the reasons I actually think we can get instances and V1 of quasi-dynamic server meshing this year, because they made SM the complete way, server meshing the complete way, which makes it a lot easier to add on top of it. Yeah, that. If you're going to do it right? And with systems like that are so fundamental, it was good to hear that they had found it so stable. So we are talking about the mesh, not the servers. Yes, we have servers falling over, and yes, we recover from it, but the mesh itself has been pretty good. We had a couple of issues, and they still happen occasionally, where you know, you cross the line between servers and maybe get knocked out of quantum and all that sort of stuff. But that seems far more prevalent for other bugs now. Meshing's been I would suggest meshing has been a unqualified success. So there we go. Squadron 42, Wing Commander 6. Yeah, not wrong. My only gripe with the Harrier is when pulling the trap to beam box in the brakes lost and clips through the hole where the Apollo airlock is. That and no lamp. So yeah, the lack of lamp was a bit annoying, and yeah, so if you wait to retract the rail back into the cargo hold until it's almost with you, you don't have it clip through the hole many times. I've been doing a lot of cargo with the current event, the clean air or clearing the air event. I've had it clip through the hole precisely once, and I've done quite a bit, so that's good news. Distribution centres were supposed to be places you could have mini dungeon bunkers and mining underground, but it's still not worked out. No, it hasn't. But we're going to get that in other places, right? So that's going to be the municipal works and all that sort of stuff. I think what they figured out is the distribution centres at the moment are probably quite quite intensive on client systems. So I think they're going to fix it, but they've got other ways to do stuff first. So rather than having to go back to the board and fix the whole thing, they can add these other locations and then go back to distribution centres in the future. I like the Hermes and I have absolutely no problem loading with the ramp of the door it has. Yeah, absolutely, Luna, same thing here. Features of the distribution centre seem to be implemented elsewhere in the game. Yeah, 100%. The ASD lift going down is 100% the distribution centre thing. 100%. It's smaller, but that's what it is. Hey, Monster Bays. How to get started for new players? What do you recommend? What I would do, mate, is very, very shortly this month they are having a free fly. What I would suggest is get yourself in on the free fly. So what you do is you go and create an account. Yeah, you don't need to buy anything for that. If you want to use a referral code, you can do. Mine's in the description, or I'm sure the guys in here would be happy to give you theirs. So you enter the referral code when you create the account, and it will tell you when there's a free fly, right? When you go to that, it'll tell you how to download it, do all that sort of stuff, and you can log in for a couple of weeks and play completely free, no risk to you, no money. If you hate it, great, you haven't wasted anything. You're more than welcome to come and join us. There's a link to the Discord in the description. We play 9 p.m. every Friday, 9 p.m. UK time, so the same time this stream started, just 2 days earlier. You'd be happy to join us. There are loads of places you can get started with. People will be more than happy to show you around the verse. You'll get a ship or two given to your account for the period of the free fly, so you won't be stranded anywhere, and people can show you around. Be prepared, it's buggy. It's buggy as hell, mate. Sometimes it's going to frustrate the hell out of you. And if games like that are an absolute no, then I wouldn't bother for the time being. However, as most of the guys here will tell you, and girls, sorry, Luna, they will tell you that there is something under all the bugs that makes it well worth for all of us sticking around, fighting through the nonsense, because when you have those moments in Star Citizen, I think they're second to none. So if you want to come and play, by all means, give it a go and see what you think. Lots of whinging about Jupiter's widget. That's a thing. So yeah, basically talking about the tech progress, and we're now talking about things like the systems that they're building into the game, like the problems, the fact that distribution centers kind of got abandoned a bit, but also things like Recess Network. And this is one of the reasons they were able to put VR in so quickly, was that they are building systems right, and they are beginning to reap the benefits of that. So that's good news. So yeah, heading the right way, 100%. I've been thinking about melting my early investments, as most or all of the OG have been superseded by latest new must-buy ships. Kind of regretting the early purchases, to be honest, says Java. So I've done that for the moment because I've got a Connie Taurus that I'm not enjoying. It's a pain in the ass to load, and you just can't fit the cargo up top where the Andromeda was. I'm going to keep hold of it because I like the Taurus, and I want to like it more. And I think when it gets reworked, I think it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Right now, I've picked up the Hermes, so I've got the Hermes sat there, and I'm using that a lot. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. All I would say is don't do anything on impulse. Borrow ships, use ships, loan ships, rent ships if they're in game. Don't do anything on impulse. And the other thing I would understand is, and I'm not saying you don't, Jabba, I would just say make sure you understand the buyback system, and there'll be people happy to take you through what the buyback system is, but you don't want to lose things. Just bear in mind that if you bought ships at a lower price or you've applied upgrades, you're going to lose savings, or you're not going to be able to get all of it back straight away. So just, take your time. Don't impulse do stuff. It's not a good look. So there we go. So yeah, so Jabba, the Squadron 42 stuff, you'll have options as to how to do things. You'll be given a mission, you have to do that mission. You might have choices in how you do it, but it is very much a military style. This is what we're going to do, rather than you running off and doing what you want. It's not a freelancer, for example. It's more a wing commander. They're right in what they say. Um, So yeah, I normally move the tractor on the Hermes when the box is almost touching the tractor, and it still breaks the beam at least 9 out of 10 times. Once I upgrade the tractor, it drops 7 times out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I still find it quicker to load, even if it does drop. Although I've managed to get it much lower than that now. I just spam the scroll wheel really hard, and it fixes it. But yeah, pushing for sure is easier with the Hermes tractor rather than pulling. But there we go. And again, that's just we're talking about a bug that I'm guessing won't exist closer to release. They'll get rid of that because it's just really annoying and doesn't need to be like that. AV says, agreed, there are times when it's irritating, but when the servers are good, man, is it fun. Yeah, that's talking about the game, obviously, not the Hermes. Yeah, it's irritating at times, but there is something under there, mate, that is well worth a go. And if you're interested in that way, then by all means. When things works, the game is a lot of fun, says Chief Paranoid Officer. When it's not work and you have issues, best is to log out, play something else, come back later. Never a true word spoken. Star Citizen is also one of the most beautiful sunsets in any game. Absolutely that leading in. I still have moments in this game where I just have to stop and go, holy shit, I can't believe we're playing this as a game. Some of the views, some of the scenes you've got, like the moons around Crusader. You've got a sunset, you've got the Crusader gas giant right there. The sun's dipping below the horizon. Just, yeah, holy moly. And that's on a moon. Like, if you go to some of the planets, Orison at any time of the day is awesome. Orison at sunset is just something special. Yeah, 100%. Lawville, you can't kind of see in the sky because there's just this fog of pollution, and it's rubbish. But yeah, there we go. Wiggy says, bugs in SC will send you totally mental, but then there are those moments where the scope and scale of it all just sinks in, and it is like no other game. 100%. And look, we don't have to sit here. Of course, we're all going to sit here and, we're in a stream. I'm streaming about it. You guys are all sat here watching a stream about it. Clearly, we are all that way disposed. So I will say this instead, which is completely indisputable. Crowdfunding. The end. No other game has come anywhere close to what this game has managed. Nowhere close. And nor will it at any point in the near future. 1 billion this year, somewhere around Fleet Week, which is in May, June time, and given that they've just basically confirmed that the battle cruiser will come in at ILW this year, that billion is very, very close. Oh my god, yeah, that. Yeah, I didn't think we'd get the battle cruiser this year. I've got to stop making predictions. I have also predicted that Squadron 42 is this year, so maybe I should stop saying that too, because I'm just going to break it. Oops. So yeah, there we go. Wita says, by the way, I really have mining outside in the dark now with the Golem using the lamp system. Nice. Is it on the Prospector? Because I completely forgot that today. I was mucking around in the Prospector today, and basically kind of mined too close to the dark side. And then ended up in the dark and chasing basically the star so I could see what I was doing. Completely forgot. Oops. Some people need 2 battle cruisers, says Wiggy. Nobody. But nobody needs 2 battle cruisers. Stop it. Widget, I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, there you go. So if you pay full price, you can melt it and buy it back. If you use CCUs, don't melt it. Lots of ships will change when atmospheric flight gets added, like the Retaliator has wings and fins. Yeah, absolutely that. Eritech says, One other reason I'm so excited for Squadron 42 is that it will be such an interesting watch on YouTube. We both have people who are new and once we've played the game forever playing, both for gameplay as well as for recognising stuff from SC. Yeah, I can't wait for Squadron. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I really, really, really hope we get some form of what's the word I'm looking for? Some form of like physical collector's edition. Because yeah, I'm mad for physical collector's edition. They're great. So there we go. You have that. Jabba says I've spent more on SC than I have spent. Most people have spent on their PCs. I think I spent more on my Virpol sticks than most have spent on the GPU. SC was a hell of an experience. So we're not going to talk about Virpol sticks, just because I've got some of that stuff turning up. So there we go. Yeah, I've got people wanting to play the game on the next Free Fly B. So it's this month. Let me have a look. It's Coromor. So if you go to, I'm just going to go grab it now off the webpage. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. But yes, there is a free fire this month. Confirmed. Confirmed. Your February in the verse. Here we go. Right, I'm going to jump across and show you what it is I am looking at. So let's zoom in a little bit. Here we go. Your February in the verse. Here we go. From Coromor and celebrations and free fly opportunities. There you go. Ta-da! So, because they also took it. There you go. Discover the verse during Coromor, this year's first free fly event. Take to the stars and experience life among the space lanes, from thrilling dogfights to peaceful planetary vistas, all at no cost for a limited time. Whether you're flying solo or sharing the journey with loved ones, there's no better moment to experience your first flight among the stars. I don't know why that voice. It's like every time I read it out, I just get into this like, announcer thing. Yeah, one for the people that remember that in the UK. There we go. Battlecruisers May, Luna. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah. That was confirmed for reals in the Tech Talk thing. So yeah, because they said specifically no concept 2025, Battlecruiser 2026, no more concepts. So there we go, which is also interesting because it also means that that's the end of the buying a ship at concept for cheaper than it goes to flyable. But whatever. Yeah, presenter mode to Citizen Ninja. You're not wrong, mate. Reminds me of Jax. Yeah, thanks very much. You sound like the calm down, dear man. Thank you, Napo. Yeah, it's lovely having you in. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Good to see you, bud. So there we go. Well, they said it's their intent, and I think it is. I think they've kind of identified now that there are enough gaps in what they've got that they can release stuff. I mean, let's look at what do you call it? Crafting, right? Look at all the stuff they can do with crafting. Refining is going to come with that. We've only got one refining. Refining is going to need to change with that, even if it just happens in the refineries that are on the mining stations, right? However, when refinery comes, we've got one ship that does it, the Expanse. We've got a modular ship that does it, the Galaxy. Other than that, you've got the other mining, like the Orion has the combined, the Odyssey has the its internal self-quant refinery, but there are a lot of ships, dedicated medium, dedicated large, dedicated profession starter refinery, potentially, although not every profession's going to get that. There's a lot of that stuff going on, so yeah. I spent money in 2017 for Star Citizen Squadron 42 and have not spent any more. Am I a bad backer? The last 15 months, SC is all I've paid. Absolutely not, Ziggs. Absolutely not. First of all, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. Mate, you've bought enough, right? You've bought the game. If you don't buy anything else, that is absolutely fine, right? I will tell you why I bought the Constellation Taurus back in the day, right? I bought that because at that point I didn't have confidence that Star Citizen would necessarily make it to a release, and I wanted to fly the ship before, I wanted to say that I'd flown the ship in the game and flown it for a long period and done my gameplay in the Connie Taurus. Now I'm much more confident about Star Citizen, right? But that's why I bought it back in the day. That's why I didn't back. Although I found out about the game in 2013, I didn't back until 2017 because there was nothing to back. And no, I don't count the Hangar Module and Arena Commander as stuff to back. So I only backed. I did a free fly, I think, and then went and bought the game. But yeah, 2017 was my game package. But yeah, mate, dude, you're doing this right. Some would argue you're doing it better than the rest of us. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah, next free fly, hopefully next week. That's it. I played Wing Commander the week it was released and all the other Wing Commander games after, so I'm just a little bit looking forward to Squadron 42. And look, I have to say, I'm just going to transition out of this. And I'm going to do what I normally do at this point, right, when we're talking about Squadron, is I'm going to put some of the Squadron stuff in the background up. Because it's just so good. But yeah, I'm Squadron blows me away with, we were lucky enough, myself, Dell, Edison, Khan, Solar, there was a bunch of us, John Goodwin, we all went to the 2024 in Manchester Star Citizen. 2024? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and went in and, oh, there we go, that was loud. Didn't need that. But yeah. So I'm going to put it on in the background just so it's there, right? Because it's more fun than staring at me. So we'll pop it in the background. But and no, you can't hear it. I have muted the audio just to talk over the top of it. But the whole idea of, Gary Oldman in one of these things, it just blows me away, right? But this looks incredible. And bearing in mind this is now almost 18 months old. 16 months old? There are clear bits in this for me, not just like the face pop of the guy who was so surprised, but there are clear bits in here that indicate that visually it's not done yet. So they've been working on this for another 14 months. Call it 20 months by the time it's released. This is going to be something else. I'm really really excited for it. So there we go. Joystick episode, interesting. Jabba, that dude with the surprisey face. Like that guy was so surprised he turned into someone else for a second. But yeah, not just joysticks, pedals, mounts, control panels, the whole shebang. Thanks, Jamlack. Yeah, lots to talk about, and something else that I've been trialing as well with this. So we'll talk about that when I've got a video together for that. But it's the RSI battlecruiser. I reckon it'll be Anvil. I reckon that's how they're going to sell it, because we've been bitching about an Anvil capital ship for years. I think it's Anvil. I will, Widget. Put me down for another prediction, my friend. I know I've still got a sock to eat. I'm working on it. I keep forgetting. I will do, and I will warn everyone. I will tell everyone like at least a week in advance that the sockening is coming. For those that don't have any clue what's happened, I said that we weren't going to get Nix last year, and if so, I was going to eat something that I wasn't supposed to eat. We then decided it was a sock, so I've decided that a sock-shaped cookie or something will be fine. So that's got to happen, and when that happens, you can all laugh and point at me because I got it wrong. Who knew? YouTubers are just normal people too. Even part-time not even semi-professional, part-time amateurs such as myself. There we go. That's more accurate. But there we go. So that's that. It's just ragging on myself. That's welcome to who I am as one of those. Right. So that's that. Let's have a look. So yeah, I remember a lot of us will have more ships than we can crew. We will have a lot of people looking for others, fly with them, 100%. And if people are after a ship and I've got it in my hangar, they're more than welcome to borrow it and take it out and break it and do whatever else they want to. My brother loves spending a fortune on SC ships. He'll buy the Battle Cruiser. I look forward to touring it. Oh my god, yeah. Battle Cruiser better be RSI, but I'd accept Aegis. Yeah, I reckon it'll be Anvil. I'm going to go with Anvil. Were there even any free flies in 2017? I thought they only started those around 2019. It might have been that I actually bought into it and went, but I'd seen someone else. I'd played at someone else's in Star Citizen, and I'd watched a bunch of videos on it. So there we go. Oh, Jabba, thank you very much, my friend. You didn't know that. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. Love what you do. Looking forward to your controller episode. I've been waiting for the forbidden consumption too. Yeah, look, I'm just gonna have to suck that up. Or more to the point, chew that up, right? It's yeah. It's like I was gonna go and contest it and go, hey, like I was talking about Nyx like being a full system and it's not a full system, so technically I was right. I don't know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking bullshit, shut up and eat the sock. So I'm gonna shut up and eat the sock. So there we go. So there we go. Yeah. If the battlecruiser is made by RSI, CRG will eventually release an Anvil capital ship, but probably much smaller. I'm interested to see what it is. Maybe we'll do a video talking about battle cruisers and where they fit. So one of the nice things about being an ex-Navy veteran is that, they've said from the beginning that much of what they're modeling, the ships and the fighters and everything in the game is kind of World War II themed, and battle cruisers fit in a very interesting slot in the World War One to World War Two naval lineup. So, and we can talk about that at length, and it might give you a bit of an indication actually as to, what a ship like that might have. So we can absolutely do that. The problem with stuff like that is the visuals, right? Because you start putting World War Two ship footage into a Star Citizen video and people freak out. So when you watch it, if you like it, let people know that, yeah, hey, there's a load of World War II stuff in this, but don't freak out. It's actually a good video on Star Citizen. Or, if it's not, obviously don't tell people to watch it. But if it is good and you think there's value in it, then we can have a chat about that. But yeah, so we can talk through that sort of stuff. Alitex says, I actually made a video of comparing the Squadron 42 demo to all other content over the years, but have no YouTube channel to upload it. Can I share the video? So if you're in Discord, sling the link to me because you won't be able to share the link here, because links are disabled by default. So have a look, but or can't I share links? So it's disabled. It's nothing that I can do about it at the moment. Let me have a look. Can I give you the? No. So if you want to send me a link in Discord, then I can certainly look at sharing it then. Hey, if you want, we can watch it, right? If it's up, or if it's somewhere we can watch it, as long as it's not going to get me in trouble with terms of service and stuff, wherever it is, then we can absolutely watch it. But there we go. Oh, sorry, gotta click off that. Anvil is one of the few ship suppliers that don't have anything big, 100%, and they were a military supplier law-wise, and they kind of alluded to that, right? I think you're safe on the Anvil guess. It's the fan service pick, right? It's really easy to sit here and do that sort of stuff because you're like, hey, I'm just going to say the obvious thing, and then if I get it right, woo! And if not, I eat a sock. So there we go. All the events are coming up that are good, apart from would have been better to hold the Nyx. Mold mission once Nyx is developed more. Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure it needs more locations, but I agree. I would like to see Nyx just more fleshed out, full stop. But they have said Nyx won this year. So, there we go. Battlecruiser should be a 500-year-old Aegis ship. Anvil ship, yeah, lots of that sort of stuff. Maybe it'll be eating as much as sock as Nyx was released. Make it a woolen sock so you can digest it. I'm not eating an actual sock, you monsters. Why wrong me, you lot? Would be cool to see a massive battle in Squadron 42 Part 3 or something, that includes a rescue by a huge battlecruiser entering the battle to turn it all around. I mean, the Battle of Vega is pretty monumental, right? As missions go, even if you're not the one flying around them. I do think this is something else entirely. This is scene setting of the extreme. Bearing in mind, this is effectively the tutorial right? Gary Oldman, Mark Strong, Gillian Anderson in a tutorial. Oh, Henry Cavill, the other dude whose name I forget, the Cal dude. Like, in a tutorial. It's beautiful. Yeah, so there we go. Oh, and, Andy Serkis and the other dude as well, as the Van Dor guys. So, yeah, kind of cool. Oh, so they could reconcept the Liberator, double its side as more functionality. If the battlecruiser isn't made by Anvil, they're not going to do that. They're gonna come up with something completely new and original. Also, Liberator ship. How long ago was the transit video? With seamless transitions around the verse, getting on off a ship is just going to be something special. Nyx needs way more POIs if it's just semi-unique resource fields for mining. So that's what's coming in 4.7 in March. We're getting the other. What's the one with K? What's it called? But the rock cracker missions are being put into that location. So it's the asteroid field that's much further out. Begins with K. Killer Field, whatever it's called, but it's the asteroid belt that's on the fringes of Nyx. That. So there you go. Yeah, I'll have a look in just a second. I see you. Cool. Okay. Oh, I shouldn't have brought that up there, really, should I? Sorry, I've just doxed people. But there we go. So yeah, oops, that was entirely the wrong screen. But we'll have a look at that in just a second. The Kiga belt. Thank you very much, Widget. Yep, the Kiga belt. That's the one. Hello, user. What were you most excited to hear is coming this year from last week's video? Starchitect. The Starchitect system. So one of the things that I really enjoy about Star Citizen when they put the remote bases in and then ships started getting cargo was that I went out to do one mission and then I got in a fight with a couple of ships and one was a Caterpillar, all NPC ships. And they were obviously there for another mission, but we shot the Caterpillar down, soft deathed it, it landed, and then we broke the cargo open and it had some really good cargo in it. So then we're getting the cargo into the ship and moving on to the next thing. And then, we found an outpost while we were flying around. And it was just that I've gone out to do one thing and then I bounce into something else and then bounce into something else. And it's all this gameplay. And the game just basically suggested what I should be doing next, right? It's like, hey, you found an item, and oh, look, you found something here, and it indicates another location. And okay, that's not in the game yet. But those sorts of things are really exciting to me as a gamer, right? Is that, yes, going and doing stuff in the mobiGlas, some of that's really useful, but actually just going and having locations that are so interesting and worthwhile to explore yourself, that's really cool. Right, I really kind of like that sort of stuff. So Starchitect, this idea of they're putting locations down and like they'll have a mining location. So all of these different like points of interest that you'll find, not necessarily quantum market or anything like that, will all be mining themed, and some of them will be agriculture themed, some of them will be abandoned, some of them will be outlaw, some of them will be lawful peaceful settlers, all that sort of stuff. That's going to be kind of great. So that's going to be good fun. So yeah, that's that. Lillian says, really importantly, if CIG wants us to have player stations, they cannot have NPC stations everywhere, or there'll be nowhere for player stations. 100%. Yep. 100%. They said they added some stations so I think there's one station coming, and it's probably because the Kiga belt is miles out, right? Is probably got like a waypoint to enable the shorter range ships to be able to make the jump. Because let's face it, the Starfarer Gemini, not all the Starfarer at the moment, not the most common ship being seen by people. That ability to rearm or refuel is pretty rare. I don't know many people that enjoy flying a Starfarer up until now. I don't know many people that own it, I don't think, but I'll probably be proven wrong. People will be like, Badges, you don't look at the fleet, post my fleet pics in your Discord because I've got one. But yeah, sorry. No, I don't really. Mainly because I've got one of the smallest fleets, or I used to have one of the smallest fleets in there. I don't know if it's that small anymore. I think I've got quite a decent looking fleet. I'm just not responsible for that much of it. So I'm just lucky. I've got some really good friends. So there we go. Don't spam me. Yeah, don't spam. Um, It's a whole system of actual nothingness. Yeah, you've got Levski, you've got the initial asteroid belt, and then you've got the logistic stations that form the current Vandor missions, and that's about it, isn't it? Really, that's kind of it. I thought Starkitect might also be a very tier 0 implementation. I fear it's one of those big systems that is even harder to get beyond tier 0 without a lot of content. And even if all are there, they've just got the standard kind of they've got the standard kind of loot boxes, right? Just like they have with the abandoned outposts at the minute when there's no missions at them. You'll find a couple of loot boxes, there'll be a couple of bad guys, that's it. I think as the loot tables advance and rarer loot comes online, as, you know, even now with the ability to find subscriber gear and rare gear around. Like I found the flight helmet from CitizenCon in ASD. So that flight helmet that came with, you know, that looks like it's supposed to be for Paladin pilots, found it. That's cool, right? And especially now they're talking about no wipes. So that's my helmet now. Ta-da! Now I need the flight suit, so I'm going to go find the flight suit. But even if it is just a case of going to these locations because there's something cool, you know, maybe there's a couple with some commodities still stowed, waiting for a pirate ship to come and take them, and you get there first, and you know that sort of stuff would be really cool. The recent progress report talks about improved nav mesh again because they're doing that for the Valakar, the Apex one, the big one, right? They're improving that nav mesh so it can move around and detect where, you know, not to come up, and dealing with hills properly and all that sort of stuff. And obviously that will then have knock-on effects for all of the other nav mesh stuff that they do. If you've been and attacked one of those outposts and you've had the guys come at you, you'll know that they navigate much better now, and they can be quite scary trying to track you down and corner you. They're a lot more mobile than ever they were before, and it's actually quite good fun in FPS. So there we go. Hey Solar, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. We were talking about you earlier. We were talking about CitizenCon in 2024. So yeah, I have a Starfarer. CIG gave me one for free. Nice, Wiggy. Good stuff. You need planets, moons, or at least 2 suns for it to qualify as a system. Yeah, welcome in, Big Bob Blazer. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so they said Nyx 1 this year. Which one's Nyx 1? Is that that's the kind of paradise planet, isn't it? I think. But yeah, so we're gonna get Nyx 1. And then the other one, they've got the poison planet, and there is the what's the other one? The gas giant. So there we go. Nyx on will be absolutely unreal. When you look at what's on there from CitizenCon, they said that CitizenCon Direct, everything that they show was stuff that they were aiming to get in this year. Crafting, all that sort of stuff. I know I'm flashing. It's because I'm watching it's like, sorry if it's freaking anyone out, but there we go. Maybe we can jump forward to some of the story stuff, huh? You know where the story stuff is, because. Dink. Oh no. Clunk. Her dead. Badges, have you mostly been doing Alliance Aid and Stanton on Nyx? I've had multiple stop and stare moments with Nyx so busy. Whole seas at exterior fees, or the pad's busy. I've not. I will go. I'm going to go. I'm just not going to do it with mission stuff on board. Even in Stanton, I've been attacked a couple times, hauling 6 SEU of stuff around. So I'll go when I've got nothing in the hold that I'm worried about. But yeah. So yeah. Can't melt or CCU it, but it's a ship. About the Starfarer. Yeah, that's it. And look, you know, I'm quite excited about the Vulcan. I want to see how the Vulcan looks and how the Vulcan plays. Because I don't think yeah. Do you know what? I think it's because I run out. I don't think it's because I'm drinking too much of this. I think it's because it's not enough, right? It's almost like I need to be functioning. So give me a second. I'm going to get better with my speech. Let's try this again. I don't think Repair and Rearm and Refuel are going to be that popular as gameplay loops, right? I think they're going to be like they are in so many games. They are a necessary evil. And sure, people will repair on board and they'll run around and do all that sort of stuff because they need to, and some will enjoy it in the engineering loop. But having a ship just dedicated to that, I don't think that's going to be as popular. So I quite like the idea of being in a gameplay loop that's in quite high demand like that. That'd be cool. Obviously, it relies on things like drones, the Vulcan does. But, you know, being able to go out and keep people going in terms of fuel and stuff will be kind of important. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes, and if not, I've got another ship that I need to start building a chain out of. So there we go. The Starfarer will be reworked eventually, says Wiggy1. Mark Gibson was chomping at the bit to rework it. Yeah. So the way they built the Starfarer, they've admitted to this. This isn't people making it up. They've actually said they built it as an FPS. They built the inside of it because it's such an old ship. They built it from an FPS perspective, as in making it like a mini level. Like if you were going to turn the inside of a ship into a fun FPS arena, that's the way they approach it. I don't think they nailed it. I don't think it is a fun FPS arena, but I don't think it's what like it would enter any Hall of Fame. It's all right to run around and shoot stuff, but they didn't build it from the point of view of it being a working vessel. And with everything in Star Citizen, that's where they needed to start. Right, any ship needs to work as a vessel, as a concept first before you do all of the rest of the stuff. They know that now. They fix, you know, they're going to fix it. They fix their approach to ships, as things like the Hermes have shown us that they're getting better. Avi says, agreed. Repair, rearm, refuel, and most support ships will be rarely used unless they change the setups for systems and stop putting so many stations and increase ranges and sizes of systems. So yeah, really good point there, Avi. When Pyro came in, it got nerfed in terms of size, big style. They shrunk it down. Right, we're going to come back to this now, and I'm going to put the other thing in the back. So yeah, so Nyx got shrunk down very, very considerably. Nyx was supposed to be big, and then they kind of shrunk it down, basically because they were like, well, I know a lot of people didn't like the decision. But here's how it looks if they kept it as big as it was, right? Here's what the headlines would read. CIG paywalls their new system because only people with really big ships with really big quantum drives and fuel tanks can get anywhere. That's how that reads. Whether we like it or not, that's how that would have played out. So they made the right call in shrinking it down. It's going to get bigger. Again, we think it's just going to be, you know, for the moment, it doesn't need to be, right? But there we go. Shrinkage is a common problem, right, boys? Says Hustlebones. Well, might be for you, sir. It's yeah. For me, you can't shrink what's not there. I'm gonna regret saying that online, aren't I? Oh dear. So there we go. Big Bob Blazer says there are players who love the service support gameplay, but it will never be popular unless CIG can make it a legitimate career. That, sir, exactly that. That's the problem, right there. Your Mandy roaming the Nyx One swamps. That's what I hope to see. Something like that, yeah, won't happen. Wooter says, I just hope Genesis and crafting will be in, and crafting, I also hope for being able to craft ship components. So yes, they've confirmed that. So the first things to craft will be weapons, armor, and size 1 components. So that's exciting. Looking forward to that. I've got a clipper for just that reason. I've also got a clipper because Dell. Thank you, Dell. But I've got a clipper for just that reason. I'm not going to do anything with it because I want to keep it for that. So it looks like, very much so, if people haven't seen it already, the reward for the Clearing the Air event, when you get to 100% across the board, you will get a crafting station that is medical in appearance. They have said that obviously you won't get it straight away. It will come when crafting comes. But it looks like they talked about one of the crafting benches being this portable thing that you call up via a freight elevator. It then can be moved around so you can go put it on your cargo grid in your ship and take it around with you. And it kind of takes off the cargo grid that it's attached to. So, you know, if you put that thing in an M2 or a C2, it will be able to draw from the cargo grid on that ship. So that's kind of cool. That's a nice kind of a nice way to get into it. Just in case that doesn't make it into game on day one, I wanted the Clipper because it's also got a crafting station. So there we go. CRG needs to add some wild systems in the future. Yeah, Lillian, and this is the beautiful thing when they've said they wanted, I think it's 110 or 108 now they're up to. They've got enough systems to do whatever the hell they want. Right? They can have systems that are dedicated to orgs taking in huge fleets and knocking the snot out of each other. Right? They can have planets that are dedicated to, there are a number of limited landing zones around, and then everything else is on foot because there's huge trees or rock canyons or whatever. They can do whatever they want. They can have water planets, they can have lava planets. There is so much space in the game, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's just going to take a while to get there. So yeah. Let's have a look. If you can easily make it to a station and have it do all the support work, the player options for it are unlikely to get used. 100%. Yep. Once Genesis is out, they need to make 20 empty systems, just planet, moons, and asteroids. I mean, they're going to have... Because the question at the moment is the exploration, right? So, 5 systems on launch with 1.0. I have a feeling they're going to get to the point where they're still waiting for other systems, but they've got the 5 in that are planned. I think they're going to have Terra, Castra, Nyx, Pyro, and Stanton ready to go, and they'll still be waiting on other systems. So I think we might end up launching with more, right? I don't think it's going to be that many more, but I think there will be more. The question at the moment is, with all the systems occupied, and with all the systems not exactly huge, where does that leave ships like the Odyssey, for example, which is designed for deep space, mine its own quantanium so it can operate for extended periods of times away from civilization? If you can't actually get away from civilization, the Odyssey's kind of not fulfilling its full potential, right? So that's an interesting one to kind of to come at and have a think about. So there we go. What else we got here? I've lost my place. That's it. I got so into the Odyssey thought that was that. So Lillian makes a good point. Medical hospital ships and in-flight refueling ships are kind of irrelevant with such heavily populated NPC systems. Yes, 100% for the time being. And the wild systems in the future, that's exactly where they need to go. Or once repair, rearm, refuel gameplay comes in much more extensively, and there are more options than just a Starfarer, then you can afford to extend out those zones. Chief around that will be things like the feedback system. So, you go to a medical beacon with the idea of like player reviews. Effectively, it's like a rating system. You go to, as a medical rescue dude, you land, you go and you fight through, you kill the NPCs, you go to heal someone, you heal them, they shoot you in the back and nick your stuff, right? You can give that guy, the intention is, or girl, you can give them a rating of close to 0, right? And just say 1 star for being rescued. Similarly, if you get a medical beacon and you're the down person and someone accepts the rescue, rocks up and instead nicks all your stuff and leaves you for dead, you can give that person a low rating. So that sort of system, especially with repair, rearm, refuel stuff, will be really, really useful. The ability to create those beacons and then say, for example, I only want this to go out to people with 5 stars. I only want this to go out to people 4 stars and above. Will be great, because the people that are taking advantage and abusing that system, it's great that you're doing that, but no one should have to roll the dice every single time they do that mission. And then unless they're like, look, no one else is responding, I'm going to put this down to 2 stars and risk it, right? Because I really don't want to lose the ship right now. So there's that sort of stuff. Rick Shaw, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. So you also get a crafted med gun in effect, heals faster than any other paramed. Interesting. I know there was one in there. But yes. Badge is just about to fall asleep. Wait, what did I say? What did I do? What did I say? What's going on? Help me. I'm so confused. CIG in 2020 would only create this gamey thing where there's just fuel and supplies everywhere you go. Exactly that. And I don't think any of us want that either, right? There you go. Being ganked while helping is a legitimate concern, though. Exactly, and that's why the rating system, hopefully. Of course, there's always the chance that the rating system will be abused. I mean, depending on how clever the game gets, it might be that if you survive, you can't give lower than a certain rating, and if you die, you can't give higher than a certain rating, right? It might also be that if you've got people who are on your friends list, people whose accounts you are linked to, that you can't review each other, because that would be another way a pirate org does it, right? They get down, they create the beacon, the person in the party accepts the beacon, raises them up a bunch of times, gets a really solid 5-star rating, and then goes around killing people. Gets one star rating, gets a bunch more 5-star ratings, and keeps doing it. So not being able to rate friends is probably a really good way of doing that as well. That the accounts can't be linked in any way. That makes sense. But we'll see. You know, we're so far from that. It was nice to see though that they're working on social tools. So for those that didn't see it, they're starting to work on first of all, the first thing that will get changed is the comms system, the chat manager, right? The communications app. So that will change, hopefully, to actually allow you to see everyone in your session would be a really good start. But they've talked about it's on the old UI, it looks really dodgy. They're also talking about proximity chat and location chat. So where you play other games where you can talk to people in the city that you're in or in the area that you're in, they're going to do that rather than global chat where you talk to everyone. So, you know, maybe you've got a Hurston chat or a Microtech chat or whatever. And they're going to go through some of the other stuff as well. And this is one of the other things that they're really going to need to have some sort of reliable party sharing and probably org system in the works by the time Squadron 42's rolls around. It's a lot of stuff they want to do, they should be doing before Squadron 42. Does that give us an indication of Squadron 42? I don't know. I'm still hoping we see it this year. Endeavour Hope is meant to be a hospital for players to spawn out. It's totally irrelevant with highly populated NPC systems. And the other thing that's going to make that irrelevant potentially is the spawn on location stuff they talked about. So the idea now that you'll log out somewhere and you'll spawn back into that spot. So I know that doesn't quite work with the hospital, but it's kind of the same idea, right? Pyro was such a letdown how busy it was with stations. Yeah, I think they've kind of gone to what I think has happened, and this is just a guess, is they've gone Stanton is lawful, Pyro is lawless. So for outlaw players, there needs to be a bit more. You need it built up, right? Just a little bit. So there's actually stuff for them to do. You know, because if you're an org and you want to go stamp out the criminals, right, you just go to the one station in Pyro if that's all they did. So they needed more than one station. Are there too many? I don't think so. I think, you know, one of the ways that, and I've said this many a time before, one of the ways you make criminal gameplay more rewarding and more engaging and less about trolling is to give it just as many options and just as broad a gameplay loops as lawful gameplay. You don't just make criminal gameplay about stopping lawful gameplay or interrupting lawful gameplay. You give it all that sort of stuff. So your Captain Malcolm Reynolds of the Serenity doing the we don't want to piss anyone off. We're just pissed off with the Alliance (brackets the UEE). So we're gonna stick it to the man. But the average person out of here making a living isn't our enemy. That should also be an option, as well as the murder hobo. I'm going to kill anyone that's doing anything remotely lawful. You know, they should both be legitimate options. So there we go. Toilets are going to be more of a thing here. There are currently no planet-side toilets in the game. It does sound like a crap situation there, Jabba, they're right. Lol, I saw what you did there. So yeah. Luna says, everything being similar is how CIG plays it safe, with such a volatile community that wages war on them whenever something has changed or too different. Yep, that happens a lot. I do think it is the very I think it's the vocal minority, but yes, they are invariably put on blast anytime they do anything that people don't like. Even if they haven't taken the time to consider why that thing might be happening. So there we go. What if the rescuer takes you hostage and then forces you at gunpoint to leave them a 5-star review? Modern problems require modern solutions, Wiggy. That's all I'm saying about that one. So yeah, I think the Woter, I think the community, there are members of the community that really do not understand anything past what they want, and this is going to be a problem throughout, right? Is that so much of the game is still left to speculation, that people are invariably going to build up different ideas of what they want to see in the game. Oh, I want to see this. I want to see that. Like, well, I think it's this. Well, I think it'd be really cool if they did that. They're never going to please anyone. And I think for most of us, it's probably worth bearing in mind that if they haven't absolutely categorically said something explicitly, don't assume that it's going to be that way. And if that's the sort of thing that will maybe make people, I don't know, what's the words I'm looking for? Make people question whether or not it's a game they want to support or whether it's something they want to get involved in, it's probably worthwhile at that stage holding off. Just because there is the most insane thing you can do in this game. The most insane thing you can do is expect stuff to stay the same. It's just lunacy. If that's what you think is going to happen in this game, I've got this and it's going to stay the same, it's not going to change. Madness. But there we go. A sock-free gamble from Widget. That's rare, mate. Normally you're setting me up out here. With 4 patches this year after 4.7, where do you think the remaining announced features will fall? Genesis, tactical strike groups, instancing, municipal works. So the instancing they have confirmed. They confirmed it in the report, and then again again this week with the Benoit Tech Talk. The first instancing will be Siege of Arisen. I almost said Siege of Orgrimmar. That's not what I meant. Siege of Arisen. So that's going to be the first instancing, which is really, really cool. Really excited to see that come back. I mean, you've got 4 features there. It'll be interesting to see how much they can put in those. I mean, Rockcracker obviously is 4.7. Maybe instancing 4.8. Tactical strike groups. I mean, I suppose you could say tactical strike groups 4.8, right? Because the tech for that all exists, whereas instancing is something new. And yes, we have instancing with player hangers, not quite the same thing, right? Because it needs a more involved manager and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, instancing 4.9, municipal works will be, I would imagine, right at the end of the year. I'm guessing. Because you'll need Siege of Arisen in fast, unless they're going to be crazy and bring them in at the same time. But yeah, they also said that they were doing some really fun things with like how you enter the instance and crossing in from the general game space where everyone is into an instance where only you and your party are. They're doing some fun things with that apparently, so I look forward to see what that is. Yeah, I mean, in terms of comment about it needing to be 1.0 right now. It needs to be 1.0 when it's 1.0. There is so much they've talked about that they're going to add to the game. I think I might have done this a little differently to some people, in that I never had any expectation of when this game was going to go live, even when I backed it. And I have never put in more money in this than I'm willing to lose, right? So if I lose the count now, yes, I'll be gutted and yes, I'll be annoyed, but it's not the end of the world, right? I don't feel like I'll have been seen off. I've spent a lot of time, like most people in here, in Star Citizen, and I've gotten use out of everything that I've spent money on. Yes, it'll be fucking annoying if it happens, but you know, I think that's kind of a key thing here. And I mean, I genuinely don't think it's going to go that way, but I still don't think we're going to see this decade. I know it's going to piss people off, but I went on Captain's Table with Space Tomato and obviously Astropub and a couple of other people. And I said it there, and it didn't receive the shock that I thought it was going to receive, right? But I don't think we're going to see it before 2030. Full stop, the end. There's just too much to add. It's a really easy way of doing it. The reason I'm kind of doing this unprepared is I'm not unprepared. I'm doing a video on when I think we'll see this, and when I say when I think we'll see it, the video is we're not going to see it before this date. But I'm working on that, so I'm not going to go any further into how I figured that out or what process I've used to come to that. Not figured it out to come to that decision, but I think it's a fairly common sense process, and we'll go through. Yeah, that's why Wiggy. That's why I say not before. So there we go. Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation was awful. What happened with Ashes of Creation was shite. Basically, they got done dirty. But yeah, I mean, Ashes of Creation. The thing with Ashes of Creation, if you listen to what was going on, it looks very much like basically the money they were expecting from Steam wasn't forwarded for whatever reason to the company. Therefore, they couldn't process payroll. So that went down. They looked like they were very much kind of living paycheck to paycheck. The company, not the people. And obviously, when you can't make one paycheck, the walls come crumbling down. Star Citizen's not in that situation at the moment. So I think we're all right. It's not to say that it can't fail. I'm just saying that there's a bit more resilience in the system. And we see that time and time again with the financials. So there we go. Solar First still missing in Pyro, absolutely. Yeah, all that sort of stuff that at the moment with repairs and getting ships back online, maybe there's the argument now that we can repair stuff inside, so maybe that'll fix it, but you know, time will tell, right? Again, it's not a priority at the moment. They will not be able to get SC into a great state before Squadron releases. Maybe in a better state than now. I think it's about getting Star Citizen to the point where it reflects the spirit of itself, right? So they have the spirit of Star Citizen in the game that's easily apparent to someone who's just starting it for the first time without knowing what it is, right? So they play Squadron 42, they like Squadron 42, they hear there's an MMO and they go, yeah, great. Buy it without like kind of looking into it too much. And then go, okay, and then get into it. The idea is that they play Star Citizen, they come away with that feel of, I know what's at the core of the game, even if it's not playing quite right. And that's an easier thing to achieve than getting it into a polished state. You're right. I mean, I suppose as it goes, that would be that would be the least egregious reason to delay Squadron 42 is what I'm trying to get at. Right? To make sure Star Citizen in the right place. I also think that's a poor excuse because they've had all the time in the world to get Star Citizen into a better place. They knew 2 years ago that they were going to release this year. They were going to aim for a release this year. They've had 2 years. So that. There we go. Yeah. What I kind of feel like the rep vendors should be added in the game. We need some special components or weapons for those with high enough reps. For example, faster quantum drive for the traders. Yeah, it'll come. It'll come. We'll see. Let me hire local NPC posse as wingman, and we'll see with gankers. Yes, I mean, just having NPCs doing stuff in the verse would be really, really useful, right? Just having them doing stuff, let alone being able to be able to hire them or whatever else. You know, and I'm talking about ships, having cargo ships moving around. You know, ships that aren't part of a mission, just to bring some more life to the verse would be really, really cool. But I guess we'll see. Or on bases like harvest water, kill harvest creatures for meat, work in kitchens and toilets on ships, crafting the basics for a living. Yeah, again, I think I go back to the spirit of Star Citizen, right? Is the core, like the essence. That's the word I'm looking for. The essence of Star Citizen. Having food that you bring on board to take with you for a journey, initially is enough, right? Because you've got the idea of I need to bring supplies with me. especially with pyro and having to drink irradiated water. The fact that you go to the reward areas of some of the stations and some of the rewards are just food that won't and drink that won't kill you in the long run is kind of it is building that sort of sense of you needing to prepare for when you go out in the stars. I haven't enjoyed an event since Siege of Origin. That's a shame, Bob. If you want to try ASD or something with us, would be really cool. We'd love to have you, but ASD, Hathor to kind of a lesser extent, I suppose, because it's more sandboxy than the others. But certainly things like Stormbreaker and that really really good fun. And if you want to go try one of those things, they're great. Jay Grizz says, "What do you think they chose to change the way Pyro and Nyx were very empty, instead of making different systems that were intended to be full of things to do?" So, I don't think they chose them to be empty. So there's a lot of stuff to do in Pyro. When you compare it to Stanton, I don't think it's that much lacking. It was, potentially in the beginning, but there's still missions to go around. It's the only place that's got for kind of location repair missions. They still don't exist to the best of my knowledge in Stanton. Nyx, I think they just wanted to get it in. I think they wanted to say they've released 2 systems in a year, and they haven't, right? Nyx is here's the major landing zone in an asteroid belt, and that's it. There's not much else to that. But yeah, I think they just wanted to get it in and prove that they could, right? And make people feel like they're moving on. Luna says Siege desperately needed to be in an instance. I hope it improves stability of the event. Yeah, stability in a bunch of ways. I'm sure it'll make the NPC, more responsive, just a better experience overall. But also, it will stop, kind of the ridiculous way that PvP was able to stop that event, which was they could shoot into the shuttle with weapons drawn. You couldn't draw your weapon until you were out of the shuttle on the platform. And it just you couldn't get out. So if a group of people had it in their mind to stop anyone getting off the shuttle, they could. And that's just an asshole thing to do. So yeah, when you're going in and you're not having to worry about other players slot you in a PvE event, that's good news. Alatech says, "I think Tactical Strike Group will be at the end because it sounded like they intended to instance that as well, also for better performance. Possibly. If it's an instance, then definitely much later on, 100%. Municipal Works in the summer, says Spicy, and Tactical Strike Groups at the end of the year. Yeah, I mean they'll have to go one way. Siege of Origin will happen first. They have confirmed that. Municipal Works seems like potentially the next evolution. Although, having said that, they might want to go. We've done some PvP on foot stuff with Siege of Origin in an instance. We now want to try ships in an instance, so we'll go to Tactical Strike Groups. I don't know. Without kind of sitting in on the meetings, there's no way to do that. There are 10k backers in Ashes of Creation that are pretty upset right now. Yeah, and I'm gutted for them. It's not good. It's not good. What I kind of feel like rep vendors should be added in the game. We need special. Yes, we kind of covered that. I had a look at that as well. Yeah, 1.0 is just another patch. It is. So 1.0, to paraphrase, what's his face, Rich Tyra, is a moment in time, right? It indicates a shift to much more released, to polished content, to no more tier 0, to where they consider the game to be released. But the patch cycle stuff will continue. Star Citizen is CIG's forever game. There will be no Star Citizen 2. They are just going to continue to develop this game until it either shuts down or the studio goes out of business. So that's it. I'm actually quite excited for that, to see a game evolve for as long as it can. I think that's good news. So yeah. Steam money was held because Valve saw a rug pull coming. Yeah, I mean, so they put a board in, didn't they, with Ashes of Creation? A board was installed, and I feel kind of bad for them. It looks to me like the board were trying to do things that was it Stephen wasn't happy with, so he resigned. Or I think was it layoffs. He didn't agree with some of the layoffs, so he quit, and then they basically went scorched earth and binned the entire studio, which is a real shame. You know, no one in that wins, right? Um, it's shitty. But there we go. Every product has a time limit. Eventually, they'll run out of new players to pledge. Um, I mean, I don't know that that's true, right? Because there's always new players coming around. I think that might be true when the tech overtakes Star Citizen to the point where new it just can't hold a candle to new games. So it might be that. But then again, they seem to be doing pretty well. When you bear in mind that engine's been around for God knows how long, it is now completely unrecognizable from what it started as. Um, it's incredible, and it still blows away a lot of engines. I think for a lot of this sort of stuff, it's going to be very much the same as Warcraft, right? So one of the problems you have if you try to compete with a game like World of Warcraft is not only you competing within a very experienced studio who knows what they're doing, popular, edgy opinions to the contrary, at least the developers do. You're also dealing with the fact that that game has had how many years now? 21 years, 22 years of content in that game. 22 years of expansions and DLCs and patches and new events and new things to add. Right? It's a hell of a thing. If you play that and you go to any other new game that doesn't have anywhere like the history, they feel empty. There's nothing you can do about it. Star Citizen is going to do the same thing. It's not there yet, but it'll do the same thing. So Hasselbone says CIG has a sustainable funding model. I think selling ships is going to be how they fund the game moving forward, full stop, the end. And they'll do skins and they'll do armor packs just like they are now. And then the new ships that they sell, you'll get them 3 to 6 months before they go on sale in ship stores. Just like they are now. I don't think there's going to be much of a difference. I would expect that that's how that's going to play out. The Squadron 42 releases in 2026. It will make or break RSI. It has to work and it has to bring people. So I think I agree with one part and I disagree with two. I think Squadron 42 is a major milestone for the company and is going to have massive implications for the development of Star Citizen. I also think that it doesn't necessarily have to bring people to Squadron to Star Citizen because the people are already here. We've done fine up until now. $1 billion this year. Massive increases in player account numbers. Right, I'm saying player accounts, not player numbers, player account numbers. Lots of stuff going on at the minute, and of course, people are just getting older. So there are people who are just about to start their secondary school or their upper school or whatever it is out in the US. I don't know how you guys what the different names are, and everywhere else in the world who are suddenly going to find themselves with a gaming PC and try Star Citizen for the first time, and they will be new players. That'll be where the new blood comes from, right? There's a reason that Grand Theft Auto 5 is still making it an absolute butt ton of money. Everyone that wanted it, who was old enough to play it when it came out, bought it. Which means that, over the amount of years that it's been in, you've still got new players coming up and buying it and still putting money into shark cards and everything else. But Grand Theft Auto 5 is still massively profitable, scarily so. So there we go. Well, if you want it, Asher, and you haven't bought it yet, you need to get your finger out your backside and get on with it. Because you've only got a year, right? Or a couple of years now until it comes to PC. So sort your life out. Yeah. Did anyone else try the new mining salvage missions that will come next week? I hope they'll at least fix the part where you need to grab components and you need 3 of what is only 1 in the ship. Oh dear. Yes, hopefully they fix that. But it's nice to see that they've added kind of weapons and components to that sort of stuff. It's cool to see, and that you can also combine them, so you can combine needing components and stuff with actually getting the salvage rights as well. So it's going to make those missions much more profitable, which is a good thing. So there's that. It's not sustainable, actually. If you look at the significant decrease in spending, the longer a backer has been with the project, it's staggering. CIG relies on new backers, and that's what I mean about the project going on, right? Is the new people coming through? Is that will happen, and also the bit of information that we don't have there is why that money's dropping off as people get further on, right? Is it because they have all the ships that they want? Is it because the disillusioned with the project and the project's not where they want it to be yet? Is it insert other reason here? Correlation is not causation, and I think the key there is that if there are reasons to use all your ships and then they keep adding other ships to the game, it might be that change in money is not there. It might also be that they don't go to that funding model; they go to something else. The one thing I don't want them to do is I don't want them to go to a subscription model. Mainly because A, I know I'll pay it, but B, that was the whole point in the beginning. If what people get are things that are not, so this is probably a good way to do it, right? Is that there's an inverse relationship between time and money when it comes to playing games. Generally speaking, those with a lot of money don't have huge amounts of time to play on the game because they're out earning said money, and those with huge amounts of time to play on the game, generally speaking, don't have a lot of money because all their time is spent playing the game. This is why the World of Warcraft tokens, the game time tokens, were so instrumental for World of Warcraft, in that you balance that, because the people who can buy their game time tokens with in-game gold don't need money to play the game. Their game time is effectively funded by people who are paying for in-game gold because they don't have the time to farm it. And that's a really nice way of going. Why should someone who has a crap ton of money but no time to play the game be expected to grind all the way up to their big ship? If they've just got the money to put in and they can come in and enjoy it anyway. Because within Star Citizen, there will be other ways in which the person who grinds up to that point will be rewarded by crafting, by the blueprints that they pick up, which require time, all that sort of stuff. So if what we're saying is, hey, there's flight blades in the game, but you can also buy the flight blades through the store, well, great. Because if I want mine, I'm going to go earn them. If someone else who can only play so often, and I'll give you a really good example of this. This happened when I was in the forces, right? I would go and get deployed for 6 months, and I would come back and I want to raid with my guild, but now my gear score was far too low. I would die every time I got hit by something. And by the time, if I was going to grind every week, I had no DKP to buy anything because everyone else had been raiding. But if I wanted to grind, by the time I got back up to the right gear score level, I was going to go away again. Why shouldn't I come back and spend a little bit of that money that I had built up during a deployment on buying a couple of 100,000 gold to buy all the kit that I needed, get myself up at least to the right gear score, and then go get the really good stuff in the raids? Why not? What's wrong with that person doing that? What was wrong with me doing that? What I tell you, what was wrong with me doing that was, at that point you couldn't buy stuff from Blizzard directly, so I ended up doing it through gold sellers, which is kind of that. Plex and Eve came first, absolutely. Yeah. So what they're trying to do is monetize that idea of lots of time, less money to spend on games, lots of money, less time to spend in games. There needs to be a way to monetize that. Otherwise, what you get is an abundance of gold sellers, credit sellers, all that sort of stuff. There needs to be another way to monetize that, and then you don't eliminate it, but you can reduce those options. So yeah. SC will always like to have some appeal to gamers who like vehicles that make them go fast. 100%. Star Engine servo meshing, it is all new, it's amazing. All of it groundbreaking and literally game changing. When they get to fully dynamic servo meshing, that's going to be something else. So yeah, there you go. I'll need to go soon. If you'd like to watch the Squadron compilation video I sent you on here, we need to do soon. Oh, sorry, mate. We'll probably do it on another day because I've only got like 8 minutes left of the stream. But I've got that from you now, so we can go and have a look at that at some point. In the meantime, I'll pop it up in the Discord so people can see it. But yeah, sorry, I've let that run on too long than I need to, but I will pop it up in the Discord. So if people are interested in LA Tech's video, you can go and find it in there. 7.5 grand. Wait, what? I don't know if I'm part of that conversation. Personally, I keep spending more as time goes on. Yeah, we need to stage an intervention there, I think. There you go. I know why I stopped and slowed investment, because so many planned ships still aren't in, and new unplanned ships are being added in the meantime. The Banu Merchantman, Liberator, Endeavour, heck, even the Carrack. Yeah, there's that. So, you know, and we know why that's happening, but that doesn't stop it being frustrating. You know, the Liberator, there's an argument that that could be in now. Banu Merchantman, obviously, without the ability to do the shop thing, it's just another cargo ship, and do we need another one of those? The Endeavour is not coming in before 1.0, so that's going to be a long old thing. But yeah. Avi says, somewhat similar for me. I already have the ships I want. Until I know how they will end up and work, I don't know if I would get want to get others. Plus, I already have more ships than I need. 100%. There's that. So yeah, it's, you know, ships is just one way of doing it. It might be that, you know, we get like the hex codes that they've all been talking about for colours, but cool like digital camo patterns and all that sort of stuff could stay in the store. You know, if people are paying for paints, because they don't give any sort of advantage, because everything works on radar and scanning and targets, like, great. You know, if you want to rock up in your really cool looking paint and you've paid for that, then more power to you. I couldn't care less about that sort of stuff. If people are buying sets of armor that are otherwise available in game, you know, do your boots. The point at which is where it becomes, like, I think for most people is where it becomes a competitive advantage. That's where I have an issue. I'm very anti-subscription model, says Hustle Bones, but if Chris Roberts came out and said, hey, we got to do this, then I'd pay for it as long as it was reasonable. That. I don't want to, and that's why I say I don't want to, because I know I'd do it to play this game. But I hope they find a cleverer method of doing that. So yeah. The problem is if the studio's design gets centered around people spending money on ships. Yeah, if that becomes to the exclusion of all other things, then I agree. And I think they're indicating that they're moving away from that because they're canning the idea of concept ships, which means they are limiting themselves to only releasing games for which the gameplay loops already exist, because they've said that. And I think if a game becomes focused on releasing something for money, they're going to make that more permissive. They're going to make it easier for themselves to do that, not less. So I think this is probably a step in the right direction, and an indication that, for the time being at least, that kind of hasn't happened yet. But yeah, this is why I've spent so much in SC. Too busy with work for the grind, but I want the more interesting ships. I can just go in with a friend or two. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like it's time to build fleets for alts. Stop it. Stop it. CIG needs to get drones working this year and passenger gameplay, says Lydian. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see drones. I would like to see it. Very selfishly, it's why I didn't apply the CCU to the Apollo Medevac, because I got that ship for because it used drones as part of its mission. And the fact that it wasn't just a case of, oh, it hasn't got drones yet, we don't think it's going to have drones as medical gameplay currently stands, was a bit of a punch in the nuts. So instead now it's kind of an open-ended CCU chain, and it'll end up somewhere else, I'm sure. I backed the game of $45 back in 2012. I haven't spent more than that since. Nice. Yeah, you want, it was Ziggy, I think, as well. It said the same thing. I think the focus should be on selling starter packs, beginner or profession focused. 100%. Yep, equipment packs as well without a game package, that sort of stuff. You know, all that stuff is kind of useful. Um, my hope is that they might be able to remove ship sales for 1.0 and fund through skins and most importantly cosmetic items for ships and bases, chairs, plants. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. If they don't really want people to go into the crafting of that sort of stuff, I think as you know, the cosmetic items for ships and bases, A, allow us to collect them, and B, that's a really nice in-game trade thing to do for people that are more industry focused. You know, and then of course you go and collect or gather, you know, forage, whatever the other bits. But I think that's actually a really nice way to keep an in-game economy moving. To be honest, I bought into the concepts; they have to be there. Um, so I'm not quite sure what that applies. I don't think they'll ever stop selling ships. No, they won't. Or not. No, they won't. I can't foresee a situation in which they will, and if they do stop selling ships, I will be very surprised. But I think it's so integral to their funding model. There would be some big kahunas for them to turn around and go, "We're going to stop selling ships now." You would need some sizable WASP names. Do you know what I mean? So sorry, my phone's going off. I just want to make sure it wasn't an emergency. It's not. We're all good. We're all good. It's just it's other grown up stuff. This is true, but ships are for crafting too, and those would not be pay to win. So yeah, so the crafting part of ships is that when you buy them, they're tier three. So it goes tier one lowest, tier three middle, and then tier five is up. You buy stuff at tier three, you'll be able to craft them up to tier five. So or craft bits for them up to tier five. So people taking the time to craft stuff is exactly why it won't be pay to win, because those people that spend the time in game and gather the materials and get the stuff crafted will have a better base ship, even if everything matches a tier three ship, all the same components and stuff, because they're at tier five rather than tier three, they're going to perform better. And that's just because of the time that they put in. And you know, at some point you've got to say we're going to reward people for playing this game rather than just throwing money at it, and that's where that comes from. My guess is they'll go subscription for convenience. So as part of your subscription, you'll get some nice benefits that aren't normally available. They might do. So the idea of what they've got at the moment, the Imperator and the whatever else, the Centurion and the Imperator, will likely continue with other benefits. But I don't think it will be like linked to an account where you've got a free to play account or you've got a paid account. You'll have a game account, or you'll have a game account with Centurion or Imperator benefits. And I think that's kind of what you're saying. So yeah. When did they say that buying them would be tier three? So that was back, I think, when they first talked about crafting in 2024. They said that that buying them won't be the highest level. They'll be you craft them past that, and I think they said tier three. Um, so yeah. Oh right, I see what you mean. You said no more concept sales. It was the concept that I bought into. Okay, I see what you mean. Gotcha. I wouldn't mind if a purchase ships only had your blueprint, but you still had to craft it. Yeah, because you get the blueprint as well, I think, isn't it? With crafted ships. Sorry, with bought ships, you'll get a blueprint as well. We might have to watch that video again, but that won't be happening tonight because we're not too far from calling it. But that will absolutely be something that we will look at, you know, at some point in the fairly near future. Well, we'll look at you know, that sort of video again, because I think it's so important, that crafting stuff is probably worth sitting and watching the whole thing from start to finish, right? Javelin this year? I don't think so, Cody. I would be very surprised. So, Badgers, what's your most hype thing that Benoit talked about? Instancing, social tools, etc. What do I want most, says Hustle Bones? So it's really hard because I know there's things in here where I'm looking and I'm going, we really, really need that. For me, it's a toss up between Star Architect and Siege of Origin. And I know that's really daft because the Siege of Origin is more instancing. It's not the instancing, it's specifically Siege of Origin that I'm after. Um, yeah. Although I would settle for transit system and freight elevators being fixed as much as they can with a game at this stage. I'd settle for that. Because, fucking hell, that's really annoying. They said bought ships would be tier 1. Yeah, absolutely. Tier 1, is it? Gotcha. My bad. Blueprints is hangar deco. Yeah, just pin it to the wall. Absolutely. I think subscription to rent a ship for a month for free insurance. The way they do it now, yeah, that would be another way of doing it. I think I just don't. I kind of don't understand why the rented ships for a month for the subscription isn't the new hotness that they brought out, because surely that would drive more sales, right? If more people got to try it. But yeah. But there we go. Yeah. So loads to talk about. We've kind of raced through this. You know, the big thing here, no, we talked about no wipes and stuff like that. Dealing with the battle cruiser coming out. They're dealing with all the economy exploits and the duping and all that sort of stuff. Voice over IP, the VR stuff, the crafting tech preview, obviously highlighting some issues, but it still seems to be on track this year. Tier 1 is coming of item recovery at some point, which will be really useful. They fixed the bounty beacons, thank God for that. And then quasi-dynamic server meshing, the idea that the system will be able to request for more servers to come online in order to support itself. That's kind of really useful as well. Hey, Sangroper, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, so there we go. That's the thing. Yes, Hustlebones, and what I'm sure RSI or CIG are doing is they're negotiating a deal where they're buying clusters of servers to support the meshing, and that's obviously cheaper than buying them all at once. So they'll have a contract for the servers that are up and running, with the provision that they can bring more online if they need to, and they'll just pay a surcharge for that. So yeah, absolutely. I really worry about assurance trivializing crafting. Getting everything back is not a good idea. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't know how they solve it, but I don't disagree. Base versions, yeah, that. VR is awesome. The devs that did that on the side deserve several crates of beer. I've got to say this, and if anyone knows, but I will say this out loud: CIG did a bang up job getting VR in the game. They did a bang up job getting VR in the game, because I think that's changed the game for people who use VR. I think that's changed it for them, so that's really, really cool. Giving that extra layer of stuff. Ultra, welcome in. So yeah. Yeah, Sylvan is the best. Sylvan did an incredible job, and everyone else that worked on that, they've really smashed it. And then when you consider that they're using, I think, is it Steam VR at the moment, and they want to go to OpenXR, which is less system intensive, going to be a better platform in the long term. It was really good, but when they first brought it in, they really struggled. They really struggled to get people to use to have VR working, and they basically said they were going to stop because every single patch it was breaking, and it was just taking too much effort to get it back again. So the fact that they've managed to do that now, going back to what we said before, this is them building systems where now they can get it to the point where it's running, and hopefully doesn't take too much to fix when they're breaking stuff. I also think that there's, they feel like they've done the bulk of Vulkan integration, that now that this is coming. I don't think that's a coincidence, but that's where we go. So yeah, I think it's Steam VR at the moment. So yeah, so for Toby it might be for the VR headsets at Steam VR. They hadn't had time to finish the XR stuff yet. So, sorry, the XR. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, awesome. Well, that's where we are at the minute. That's what's gone on this week. We'll be around again next week, same time on Sunday, 9 p.m. UK time. And then if you are looking for someone to game with, you want to come in and do some Friday night shenanigans with us, there's a link to the Discord down in the description below. You can pop in and say hello. 9 p.m. UK time on a Friday. We gather in there. You don't need to be part of any org. You don't need to be, kind of subscribed or paying anything. It's all free. You can come in, join us. We might do a little bit of the clearing the air event. We might go and do something completely different. based on what people want to do that evening. But we will do something. It will be fun. There will be laughing. And if you come and bring a couple of beers with you as well, that would be even better, because the rest of us will hardly be sober. So that's good news. It's been really good to see you all, and hopefully a few more videos coming out in the coming weeks. A couple that I'm going to have to work on, so there might be slight pauses, but we are slowly now, with everything in kind of my life settling down to an extent. I should be able to get back to a little bit more of a schedule. I do apologise again to everyone that from kind of mid-November the video stopped. For those that know, you know. For those that don't, it's fine. Everything's good now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more content out to you guys, spending more time with you here and in the verse. But thanks so much for popping in and seeing us, and I guess we should be calling it there. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.